So I smoked weed pretty much every day for 10 years, and I was what society would call a pothead. And at the end of the day, it's really not that bad, but the fact that it's not that bad almost makes it worse. So I started smoking weed at 14 years old, and I stopped somewhere in my 23rd year on Earth. And what I can tell you is during that basically decade of getting high, there weren't very many days where I was not high. And during that time, I can conclude several things from my research. With the first thing being that smoking weed really isn't that bad. Like, it's not addictive. I mean, the habit of smoking weed may be addictive because as humans we do, like, I have to have my coffee in the morning. This is why I can't do intermittent fasting, because it's part of my habitual process that I drink my coffee in the morning. So the habit could be addictive, but weed itself is not addictive, and it's not necessarily very unhealthy. Like, it's obviously not healthy, but it's a lesser evil of the evils out there. Like, just eating junk food is probably a whole lot more unhealthy than smoking weed. But this almost makes it worse, because although it's bad, it's not really bad enough that people feel the need to stop doing it. Like, people that do hard drugs or smoke cigarettes or drink too much alcohol can visibly see and feel that it is affecting them in a negative way. The side effects are a lot more pronounced. Whereas people who smoke weed may feel like it's actually helping them, or the side effects are just not even there. And that's because they're not as tangible. You can't really see the side effects. Like, you can tell, like, that smoking is killing somebody. You can see that it's aging them faster. It's making their teeth yellow. You can see that, somebody is viciously hungover, or they're puking, or their emotions are completely out of whack because they're hammered and they're yelling and they're in a depressive state or whatever. Like, you don't really see any of that stuff from somebody who just smokes weed every night. And in most cases, unless you're super self-aware, you're not going to notice the effects that smoking weed has on you when you're not smoking weed. So the first problem that I have with smoking weed, and that I would say exists with anyone who uses weed regularly, is that it completely destroys your motivation to change your situation or your position in life. Because you can pretty much make anything fun and interesting when you're high. Like, me and my buddies literally used to sit on an elementary school field and laugh for 10 hours, or you can sit at your computer and watch Illuminati videos for 4 hours, or play Call of Duty Deathmatch all day, no problem. And the problem with this is that instead of working to change your current situation or position in life because you're bored and sick of the current one, you can just get high, and now the current one becomes completely fine and fun. And hey, if you're happy with that, more power to you. But the fact of the matter is that human beings are wired to enjoy production and progress, and people are most happy when they're in a progressive state or they're in production. And especially men typically need to be on some sort of conquest to be fulfilled in life. And when I stopped smoking weed, something that I immediately noticed was the fact that I wasn't okay with my current situation anymore, and it needed to change. And some people will argue and say things like, oh, well, you should be happy with your current situation, and it's not okay to be unhappy. We should, learn to be happy with what we have, and blah, blah, blah. And my response to that is, just because I want my situation to change doesn't mean that I'm an unhappy person. I can be happy but unsatisfied with where I'm at in life. And I think it's completely healthy and normal to pretty much always be unsatisfied, because perfection doesn't exist and there's always room for improvement. So I can be happy with my life while actively being unsatisfied and trying to change it and progress and reach new highs. Now, the next thing I noticed smoking weed definitely did, and this is the one that usually offends people when I say this, is that it made me slower. I had a constant brain fog where it was very difficult to find the right response to something that somebody would say to me, and it was very difficult to find the right response in a timely manner. I just overall wasn't very sharp, and this was affecting the way that I would communicate with people, and it was affecting my production at work. And the next thing is, a lot of people say, smoking weed helps you with your sleep, and maybe it does, right? Sure, I guess, if you smoke a certain strain at a certain time during the day and you smoke the right amount and the way you ingest it, and maybe things align, that maybe it actually does help you with sleeping. But I personally never found that. I found that it always made my sleep worse. It would take way longer to get to sleep because instead of trying to get to sleep, I would be sitting there thinking about stupid shit in my head for 2 hours while lying in bed looking at the ceiling instead of just falling asleep. And if I really wanted to smoke weed to get better sleep, I'd probably just take melatonin. And then when I did eventually wake up in the morning after my shitty weed sleep, I would have like my eyes freaking like crusted shut and they'd be like bloodshot and heavy, and like I'd just be so slow and like not there for the first 3-4 hours of the day after that. I feel like it made my sleep completely worse, and this is coming from a guy who did it every day for nearly a decade. So maybe you guys have a different experience than me, right? This video isn't intended to speak for everyone. It's intended to reach the crowd who will notice the things that I'm talking about is happening to them currently right now. I've made a lot of videos covering vices, and the smoking weed one always gets the most backlash because people will argue that it is a net positive to their life. And I'll say, and as we know, all things in life are good in moderation. But I think the problem with that statement is that moderation is subjective, right? What even is moderation? How do we know what moderation is? Some people will use it as a medication, and sure, you know, if it helps you, I'm not a doctor and I don't know anything about your illness, so fair enough. But I think if you're smoking weed every single day of your life, there are very few points that you could make that would somehow change my mind that this is a net positive for your life. Now, if you're smoking weed once or twice a month, then sure, excellent, more power to you. I think that could be a net positive for your life if you're using it that moderately. But even smoking weed every day to help you with your anxiety or stress or any of these things, I would dare say guaranteed is probably not a net positive for your life. And most of the time, anxiety or stress is actually created by us not doing the things that we know we should be doing. And you could even be making that stress or anxiety worse by smoking weed because now you are putting off the things that you know you should be doing and synthetically controlling that stress and anxiety instead of just listening to your conscience and going and doing what you know you should be doing to relieve that stress and anxiety. And I actually read this statistic somewhere. I don't know what the statistic is, honestly. I can't remember it right now, but it was something like 90% of all stress and anxiety comes from us just not doing tasks that we know we should be doing. But my conclusion to this, and I hope this does reach somebody because I myself was there for a very long time, 99 times out of 100, this is not improving your life. And especially if it's being used more than a couple times a week. So don't forget to subscribe if you like this video. Watch the one I did on smoking because you'll probably like that one. I'm Connor Kelly. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.